There is a place that is spoken about only in whispers, a dark area that spawns the beginnings of urban legends, a place where anything can happen and usually does. During the light of day, it hides just outside of view, but when the sun goes down, spirits, creatures of the night, roam free, and things do go bump in the night. It is in every state and every country, and there is no escaping it, no matter how safe you feel behind your locked doors and latched windows. So we invite you to turn down the lights and turn up your radio while we join Dave Schrader and Tim Dennis, your hosts, on a journey into the darkness on the edge of town.
Hello and welcome. You're tuned in to the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio. I'm your host, Dave Schrader. Along with me, the one, the only, the man with the plan, always putting the tape in the can. It's Mr. Tim Dennis. Hey, Tim.
That's me.
Happy anniversary, friend.
Happy anniversary.
15 years. So let me just start off. Sorry, we're a little late today, but listen, for 15 years, we've pretty much released a show on January 1st every year. So we nudge this to the end of the day of December 31st. Nudged it so that it would tip over for most of the planet on our actually anniversary.
Yeah.
But we hope you guys won't begrudge us that little leeway there. And thank you so much for joining us today. Our 15th anniversary. We're going to have a lot of fun talking, reminiscing, chit-chatting. We've got new news stories to share, some crazy news stories. Plus, finally, the king of predictions seems to be falling on the side of right. Nostradamus and Dave Schrader may actually be together on something, Tim. That's all I'm going to say.
You may have a story in front of you there it seems like everyone this week has been getting a hold of me on the old twatter and telling me, hey, Tim, I think you're right. Even TMZ, Dave, this week fell on my side. So,
big deal. My guy, been around for like hundreds of years. So we'll cover that in a few minutes. Hey, let's look at last year's predictions, Tim.
Sure.
Are you ready for this?
Sure.
I predicted the Ravens would win the Super Bowl. They didn't win the Super Bowl last year. No, I was wrong on that one. I also predicted North Korea was going to do something pretty stupid. They didn't do pretty stupid. No. Yeah. Ghostbusters Afterlife, I predicted, would do 2 to 3 times the amount of money that reboot did. And I'm not wrong because it hasn't come out yet because of COVID. Yeah. So that one, I think I'm going to push that to the 2021 cycle, Tim.
Okay.
Can you though? I mean, if every movie's just going to be going to streaming services, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, now let me throw an addendum on it because if you, and I know you, I don't know if you want to do a movie review here or not. Wonder Woman 84 now has set what they're calling a COVID record for in its opening weekend for doing 36 million in theaters worldwide. Yeah. But the bar is set incredibly low because, of course, people aren't going to theaters.
Right. Yeah. So you know what? I'm going to just take this Ghostbusters Afterlife as a loss because I made a prediction and it didn't even come out in the year I predicted it. Yeah. So that's that. I lose it. That's out of my 10 predictions so far, 3. Okay. I said Academy to the Stars and the government would have a bombshell that they're going to drop on us to grab the attention of the world. I still kind of think that with the Pentagon coming forward and admitting that footage is real, that they do in fact have a UFO task force still in play, I kind of feel like that's a win for me.
I would give you a half for that.
I'm going to take the whole because I've just given up three. I'm taking the whole because it's a pretty big bombshell. People have been not paying attention, but there's so much crazy news out there. Kirk Douglas would for once and for all die. That was my prediction, and that sadly
you nailed that one. Yeah,
came true. Yeah. That's a bummer, but true.
Yeah.
As far as we know, who knows? COVID could clear up, and all of a sudden we realize Kirk Douglas's blood was used to save us all, and he's truly still alive. I don't know.
Could be.
I also made a prediction that Warner Brothers would be releasing a damaging sex tape of Mickey Mouse, and that Bugs Bunny had seduced him as dressed as a woman, and that didn't happen to him.
I thought you were going to say you had the tape.
Well,
wow.
Warner Brothers didn't release it. That's all I can say.
Huh.
My next prediction, Minnesota Vikings will only suck a little less this year. And was I wrong?
Boy, were you off on that one.
They sucked a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
And my final prediction was Jesus refuses to return to Earth.
Well, I'd say you nailed that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I said, and then my final prediction was that if I get more than 3 predictions right, you should burn me at the stake for being a witch. But let's count them. UFO bombshell, I gave it to me. Kirk Douglas, I gave it to me. Jesus refusing to return to Earth, I give it to me. So I got 3 out of 10 correct. So I don't need to be burned at the stake as a witch.
I would have done 2.5, but that's just me.
Yeah, you also like the new Wonder Woman movie, so I got to question your belief systems.
But see, you sat down expecting a masterpiece. I sat down and thought it's going to be a DC movie. So
here, so we'll do this. We have a couple of movie reviews to do. Okay. Let's start off with the bad. Wonder Woman 84, HBO Max. I loved Wonder Woman. I thought that was a great movie. Yeah. To me, that was the equivalent of Captain America, the way they told the story and pacing and story, and they developed a character that didn't have to be about boobs, which, let's face it, for many years, unfortunately, that's what you thought of when it came to Wonder Woman. That was such a great movie, and I had high hopes, and I thought, well, Patty Jenkins is obviously the one to, steer this ship for Wonder Woman, and then along comes Wonder Woman 84, which, first of all, I thought was a pretty lame duck premise. I got to tell you, that did take me down a few steps, because I thought, if that's your hook, Wonder Woman 84, that to me was a little that started to put some concern for me into the movie franchise. And that part lived up to it. There was some of that lame, oh, look, hey, remember parachute pants? Hey, remember this trend? And that, to me, got a little irritating. But they didn't do it a lot. But it was just enough that still it felt like they could have skipped that whole segment and we'd have been okay. But, it was kind of an interesting little twist on, when Major Steve Trevor kind of returns and is trying on all these different outfits. That was very reminiscent of 1980s, teen comedies where the girls are trying on all the different outfits and such. So, I mean, there was some, subtle, interesting bits like that. But then to me, on the whole, Wonder Woman 84 just didn't hold it. It wasn't intriguing. The villains, the storyline, and even the acting was really off on everybody but Gal Gadot. I didn't, it's not that I hate it. I just don't like it. And that's as far as I can go. So on a scale of, 1 out of 5, I really am only going to give Wonder Woman 84 2 stars.
That's fair. Here's where you and I'll differ with it. And I didn't say it was the greatest blockbuster of all time. I just said it was a DC movie. Which to me, DC movies are average. They're not great. They're not horrible. They're just And where this, the minute, like you said, the minute you said Wonder Woman 84, it brought me back to, and I don't know if you remember this series of Wonder Woman comics where they stripped her of her costume and she was just Wonder Woman, the fashion designer. And I thought for a moment, you know what, we're going to get from Patty Jenkins, we're going to get a little bit of kitsch with this. So take down your expectation. And for a lot of the movie, that's what we kind of got. We got Wonder Woman, the art curator. And so I thought, okay, we're getting this chapter of Wonder Woman. And I thought, no, I kind of knew what we were getting. So I lowered my expectation. I just kind of knew to lower it until the last half of the movie. And the last half of the movie, I should have lowered my expectation, because that's where the lowered expectation should have came. I'm really disappointed in Pedro Pascal. That's where that's where my expectation was in. I really thought he would have been better as Maxwell Lord. Surprisingly, I was pleased with my name, or the name escapes me now.
Kristen Wiig?
Yes, Kristen Wiig. I thought she was, until the last third of the movie, I was rather impressed with her until that last third. It falls apart in the third act. So, you
know what it felt like, though? Think about this for 1 second, and then we'll move on. But
okay.
It was a retread of the horrific Batman Forever movie with oh God, what is his name? I can't even think of who played him right now, and I actually like the actor.
Tommy Lee Jones?
No. Doc Holliday, who played him?
Oh, Val Kilmer. Yeah.
Val Kilmer as Batman.
Yeah.
And then you have Jim Carrey as the Riddler.
Right.
Kristen Wiig's character was that same mousy, nobody cares about me, I'm overlooked and underappreciated, and then slowly becomes a maniacal force. And it was just, to me, that was a complete retread of that story. There was nothing inventive, nothing fascinating. She's always fun. She's a pretty lady. She's a good actress. She's funny. But I didn't feel like it warranted, there was just nothing to her.
She wasn't as over the top, though. Jim Carrey was so over the top in that character, he was annoying. At least with her, she was somewhat relatable. You know, I mean, not very, but somewhat relatable. So I guess with me, I'd just give it a C, or like a 2.5 out of 5. To me, it wasn't. I wouldn't go out and boast that this was if this were a summer blockbuster, I would have went, yeah. But the fact that it was released in the wintertime, okay, that's fine. So I just thought it was okay.
So we're not far.
Offended.
2.5. I said 2. You said 2.5. That's pretty on it.
I just thought it was average.
Here's the good side, folks. If you have not yet seen Disney Pixar's Soul, watch the movie. Tim, you're going to love it.
Okay.
It is such a beautiful, well-made, and listen, it's a ghost story. How could you not dig it? It's about the great beyond and the great before. It's about reincarnation. It's about making the best of the life that you're given. Pixar has such an amazing way of taking simple little aspects and turning them into really beautifully played movies in cartoon form. And I loved it. I honestly would give this a solid 4.5 stars. 4.5 stars for Soul. But Dave, if you love it that much, why only 4.5 out of 5? Because it just, it was great. It fitted, but it's still a cartoon. I just feel like it, I can't go all the way to 5, but 4. I'll go even 4.75 stars. That's how good it was.
Wow.
But it is really well done. If you have Disney Plus, treat yourself. It is so good. And if it's on any other streaming services or video on demand, treat yourself, please, folks. You'll thank me. It's that good a movie. I don't care what age you are. There was all of us watching it in our household, all the way from me, 53, down to my stepson Max at 8, and everybody loved it. And everybody had to do that a few times, watching it. So very well done. There's another movie I just caught as well called Wendy, which is a retelling of the Peter Pan story in a contemporary time era. And it's a really interesting, beautifully crafted independent film. Wendy, watch it. It's another one I really like a lot. Out of 5 stars, I'd give it a solid 3.75 stars, 4 stars. It could have been paced a little better, but I really like the concept of it. And it doesn't take you off planet. It doesn't do any of that, but it takes you into a different mindset. And it's a really clever little movie. So there you go. There's a couple of quick little insights to some great programming in Wonder Woman 84 that you can check out for yourself. So let's start off. I mean, we've got a lot of news to cover.
Yeah,
we've got a lot to discuss, but let's go to the Wayback Machine.
Sure. And
let's talk about some favorite episodes and favorite memories of the last 15 years. And just going through it, I want to make sure that we memorialize all those that have been a part of this program with us over the years. The one and only and effervescent Mally Fox.
Dave.
Yeah.
She's still alive.
No, I said, but she's not on the show. She's not with us. Meaning that, I mean, we've had a lot of people go through the doors with us through the years on the show. Katie Hart, the lovely and talented singer Katie Hart, who was a part of this. Jessica Freeberg, who was also a part of this for a short time, as we kind of did that deal where we had the three of them on rotation: Katie Hart, Jessica Freeberg, and Brandon Kuhn. How do you say his last name? I don't remember.
Kuhn.
Brandon Kuhn. Was it Kuhn?
Kuhn.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we loved him.
Yeah.
Adrian Lee, who was a part of the show and helped carry some load while Tim was on hiatus for a while on the program. We of course want to thank and remember Steve Versnick, who saw us and saw the potential and gave us our first lift to major radio, which was awesome.
Echo.
So I want to mention him. What was that?
Echo.
Oh, of course, Echo Bodine, who was a regular contributor to the show for quite a while. And then, you had Captain Andy Candy Pants, who was one of our fill-in producers. It was fun and brought some light to it. We had, of course, the Darkness Radio rookie, who has gone on to big radio success in the Twin Cities market.
He's a big shot. Yeah,
kind of a big shot. But just he just has to remember that we have the recordings. We remember where he started.
Right.
Yeah, they came to us. Hey, you guys want an intern? Yeah, let's abuse an intern. I mean, let's amuse an intern. And the rookie came on board.
He kind of has. Not only does he produce Paul Allen's show, Paul Allen, the voice of the Minnesota Vikings, he does his own stuff over on KFan.
Yeah. So he's pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Let me see. Who else am I forgetting? I feel like there was some other contributors that came by. Oh, Susan Cummins, of course, who used to be our book reviewer. And then we had, oh golly, why am I blanking out on this? I know we had some other awesome people way back in the day. Oh, Nicole Remini.
Yep.
Nicole Remini, who used to be on the show doing some movie reviews with us. Who anybody else you could think of that was like a major part of the show that was here kind of in and out through all of that? Yeah, I don't either. Well, we also have to thank kind of the voice of Darkness Radio, our introduction, and that's been something people have really weirdly enjoyed. They loved the tonal setting of that opening narration. And for many years, people thought it was me, but it wasn't. It was a very good close friend of Tim Dennis's.
And that's Reed Hagen. And Reed was at the time that was recorded. Reed was the program director and morning man over at KLBB. And Reed is still involved in voice work here in the Twin Cities. And he's still around. He's in fact he wondered out loud on social media at one point why we were still using his voice. He thought that was kind of cool.
Well, he's been the voice of it. And if we're going to talk about the voice, we got to talk about the music, right?
Yes.
Guy Hammernick, Dr. Hammer Scratch, our good friend from college, who created our theme song in the blink of an eye. And then we have Jay Giuliano, who helped us with some of the different themes for True Crime Tuesday, Beyond the Darkness, things like that. So we've had some great contributors to the musical side of the programming.
Talented creators.
Yeah.
Both voice and music.
Intern Robin. How can I forget our first
intern Ben.
Intern Robin.
Right.
She was a sweetheart. She was there literally from the beginning in the smallest rinky-dink office you could imagine, and was a part of the program and was loving. And it's great to see her pop up on social media and chat with us and say hi. Of course, Chris Jericho, for seeing the potential in us and inviting us into the Jericho Network and Podcast One family. And as we became part of that, and then, of course, the great people at Stitcher for bringing us over and allowing us to have a different growth potential in future. And we're very excited to be here and be a part of this. And all of the great advertisers and sponsors that we've had throughout the years. I think I've covered everybody, haven't I, basically? Music, fans, friends, interns. I'm sure there's a few, and I apologize. 15 years is tough on an old guy. So there have been some names I'm sure that slipped by, but we also had some of the best. Jason Hawes for agreeing to be our very first guest. Rosemary Ellen Guiley, the queen of the paranormal. She is missed more than she'll ever know. She was a good friend to us on the show in our live events, and she is definitely missed. John Zaffis, again, for being one of the first four. Our friend Annie Wilder, who's visited us a few times through the years, who was in our first block of 4 guests. Pretty much the entire cast of Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, Paranormal State, Most Haunted, Dead Famous, Haunting Evidence, Chip Coffey, so many of these great people that became a part of our world. Michael and Marty Perry, and Bill Chappell, of course, Bill Murphy. So great guests. Stanton Friedman, who again we lost, another amazing voice who would come on and talk to us about UFOs and the possibility of life beyond our planet. So we've lost some really amazing guests throughout the years to time, which is sad. But in memoriam, we've got their voices. We have their stories. We have their insights for eternity to continue to play on the show. And that kind of makes me feel good that we were able to give a voice to a lot of these people who at the time were really only doing shows like Coast to Coast. They weren't as mainstream with all the different programs. And we started cracking that shell and getting a lot of big name people on the program.
Right.
Dan Aykroyd and his father. I mean, those are some big gets for us in the beginning.
Father Andrew Calder.
Yes.
Who's left us. Yeah.
Father Andy. Yeah.
Yep.
Boy, the list, I thought about writing down the list of all of those guests that have left us.
Yeah.
And I knew I'd just start bawling on the show.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to hear that. But I want to instead just remember all the memories of the great times we had, the wonderful conversations we had, the laughs and tears we cried and shared together, and the wisdom that each one of these guests imparted on us over the years. Because that's, a huge reason that we are still here 15 years later, is because of the work of those people that came forward, shared their stories, and allowed us to be a part of that story with them.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's some great episodes that and some eye-opening episodes too, that really that we've been lucky to have come across our doorstep, for lack of a better term, that we've been able to impart on the listeners, and have just been amazing, just amazing.
So, and of course, we thank all of those people that have been involved, but the biggest thanks of all goes out to our family who supported us in this endeavor, and to you, the listeners, who have spent 15 years with us, whether you've been with us the full 15 years or whether you've been with us for the last 2 years. Either way, we thank you so much for being a part of this journey and allowing us in. And, sometimes you get this feeling of disconnect. It's just two buddies talking and chatting with guests that they find fascinating about topics that they like. And then you forget sometimes that there are people listening. There are people out there. And I want to just thank you all for the love and support you've sent through the years in email form or in live meetings at events, telling us how much we mean to you, because you don't even take that into account when you do this. Really, I mean, this is really kind of a self-serving job. You do it because you love doing it, and you're fascinated by the topics that you get to cover. And then you're hoping other people will enjoy the ride with you. And not only have people enjoyed the ride, but we've gotten powerful letters telling us how, they feel we've saved their lives and help them through some of the darkest periods in their lives. And that says more to me than anything, aside from being a parent. That says more to me than anything. And I can't tell you how much that means to both Tim and I.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, we'll do some more memories. We'll talk about some favorite episodes. But let's go, Tim.
All right.
The news needs to be read, especially this first piece of news.
Uh-oh.
COVID-19 bill started a 180-day countdown for UFO disclosures. All right, I'm going to warn you, there's some triggers in this next conversation. I mentioned COVID up front. Mm-hmm. The first sentence of this article is going to piss people off, but I have to report the story. President Donald Trump's signature Sunday on the $2.3 trillion COVID-19 relief and government funding bill started a 180-day countdown for the Pentagon and spy agencies to say what they know about UFOs. The provision received very little attention, in part because it wasn't included in the text of the 5,593-page legislation, but as a committee comment attached to the Annual Intelligence Authorization Act, which was rolled into the massive bill. The Senate Intelligence Committee, chaired by Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, said in the comment that it directs the Director of National Intelligence, in consultation with the Secretary of Defense and the heads of other such agencies, to submit a report within 180 days of the date of enactment of the Act to the Congressional Intelligence and Armed Services Committees on Unidentified Aerial Phenomena. The report must address observed airborne objects that have not been identified and should include a detailed analysis of unidentified phenomena, data collected by geospatial intelligence, B, signals intelligence, C, human intelligence, and D, measurement and signals intelligence, according to the committee. The report must also contain a detailed analysis of data of the FBI, which was derived from investigations of intrusions of unidentified aerial phenomena data over restricted United States airspace, and an assessment of whether this unidentified aerial phenomena activity might be attributed to one or more foreign adversaries. Former Pentagon and legislative officials confirmed Tuesday to the publication the debrief that the package begins the clock on UFO disclosures. Defense Department spokesperson Sue Goff told the Post, "We are aware that the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence Committee report on the Intelligence Authorization Act for fiscal 2021 included a requirement for the Director of National Intelligence, in consultation with the Secretary of Defense, to submit a report on unidentified aerial phenomena within 180 days of enactment." Spokesperson for Rubio, who pushed for more UFO transparency, did not respond to the Post's multiple requests for comment. The push for more information follows the Pentagon's April publication of 3 Navy videos showing unidentified objects. Chris Mellon, former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Intelligence, told the debrief that the newly enacted Intelligence Authorization Act incorporates the Senate Intelligence Committee's report language, calling for an unclassified all-source report on the UAP phenomena. This was accomplished in the joint explanatory statement, not exoplanetary, Tim, that's not a word. I guess my mind's in the UFO category, so I try to shape that word into something much more extraterrestrial sounding.
You can make it one.
What?
You can make it one.
Yeah, this was accomplished in the joint explanatory statement accompanying the bill. Consequently, it's now fair to say that the requests for an unclassified report on the UAP phenomena enjoys the support of both parties in both houses of Congress, said Mellon, who is also a former staff director of the Senate Intelligence Committee. Assuming the executive branch honors this important request, the nation will at long last have an objective basis for assessing the validity of the issue and its national security implications. This is an extraordinary and long overdue opportunity. Mellon added, "I'm hopeful the new administration will rigorously execute its oversight prerogatives because the concerns of the public and numerous U.S. military personnel have been ignored by a complacent national security bureaucracy for far too long. Nick Pope, who ran the UFO office on the UK's Ministry of Defense, told the Post, "I welcome this move, which shows how seriously the phenomenon is being taken in the intelligence community." Now, Pope said that the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force is probably already drafting the report for DNI to send to the Senate Intelligence Committee. Questions remain about what the report will say and how much can be made public, given the highly classified nature of some of the material, but this is a step in the right direction. Trump, as commander-in-chief, has brushed off questions about the UFOs and possible alien life. "I'm not a believer, but, I guess anything is possible," he said in an interview last year. So this is pretty big news, Tim.
Yeah,
if they follow.
Yeah, here's me peeing on your parade right now. Okay, so in the report it says you have to classify 4 different things. Weather balloon, how big the weather balloon is.
No, that's not how it's going to be. Maybe it will.
The shape of the weather balloon, and
I think here's what I would say. I would be as cynical as you right now, had I not talked to 2 people that I really like and really trust, who have some pretty insane connections, and I cannot go any further than saying that. But they have both told me without a doubt that things are about to get real very soon. So we'll see. We'll see.
But again, I'll stand by what I said before, and that is 180 days put you right smack in the middle of the Biden administration, and I think it all goes away with the Biden administration.
We'll see.
And like I said before, and I still stand by this, there was the report that President Trump had met with the Israelis, and the Israelis, once he had met with them, he had learned about the existence of aliens and was ready to blow the cover off the entire thing and was shut down. And they think this is why Space Force became such a priority. And that I think this is why this little note or whatever was thrown into the bill. Somebody was doing his bidding, I think. But I really do think Biden puts it all away because he's been there before. He's been the vice president. I think he slowly puts all this back in the closet as he becomes president.
One of us is going to be right. It's either going to come out or it's not. We'll see at the end of 2021 who's a little closer to the truth. Speaking of the truth, how weird is this? Sadly, we heard the news about the explosion in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
The story gets weirder. Federal investigators are looking into evidence that the Antioch man who detonated a bomb in downtown Nashville Christmas morning had spent time hunting for alien life forms in a nearby state park and was interested in what he deemed lizard people, according to law enforcement sources. The sources told ABC News that Anthony Quinn Warner, age 63, may have been motivated, at least in part, by paranoia over 5G technology, but that they also found writings that contained ramblings about assorted conspiracy theories, including the idea of shape-shifting reptilian creatures. The sources told ABC News that Anthony Quinn Warner, 63, may have been motivated, at least in part, by paranoia over 5G technology. But they also found writings that contained ramblings about assorted conspiracy theories, including the idea of shape-shifting reptilian creatures that appear in human form and attempt world domination. Federal agencies are working to figure out if the beliefs somehow contributed to Warner detonating a bomb inside of an RV parked near 2nd Avenue North and Commerce Street around 6:30 a.m. Friday, killing himself, injuring 3 others, and damaging more than 40 buildings. Prior to the explosion, Metro Police said Warner's RV played an audio recording of a countdown, a warning for people to evacuate, and Petula Clark's song Downtown Metro Police and the FBI have not revealed if they believe the AT&T building where the RV park was parked was Warner's intended target, but they said they are investigating. Investigators are also working to analyze chemical residue from the scene and determine the chemicals that were used to make the bomb. The Associated Press reported Monday that Warner had recently given away his car and told the recipient he had cancer. The computer consultant also reportedly told an employer he was retiring and signed a document that transferred his longtime home in Antioch to a California woman for nothing in return. What a strange story.
Very. It's strange, and yet it's fortunate that the police department got there in time. You know, when you see the body cam footage on the news of the police doing what they did to get people evacuated, you think of how many people could have been hurt, how many people could have been killed in that explosion. Had it not been...
I wonder why he recorded that or played that thing and kind of gave a warning. It's such a weird story.
Yeah. Of all the ways to, you never want to speculate. You know, there are so many different ways. If you were just going to off yourself, there are different ways to draw attention to yourself if you had to. You know, if you're going to leave a manifesto and off yourself, there are different ways to do it without putting people in danger. This man put people in danger, and for all intents and purposes, he was a terrorist, and yet they're not calling it a terrorist bombing. I don't know why they're not calling it what it is. It's maybe
because they're checking into it. That's why the investigation is ongoing. If they find out that he believes that it was 5G and he was trying to take down the AT&T tower and building, that becomes more of a terrorist move than just some nut that was chasing aliens and, cashed in his chips because he was dying of cancer. I think it's going to be in the incentive behind, or the motivation behind the attack. But I don't know. It's sad and horrific all the way around. So I'm glad, though, out of all of that, only 3 people were wounded, and hopefully they'll recover well. That's all we can hope for.
Yeah.
Since we're talking space, the final frontier, I've got a story to continue with when we return. Stay tuned. You're listening to the best in paranormal talk radio in our 15th anniversary show. I'm Dave. That's Tim. This is Darkness Radio. Thank you all for being a part of the program with us. This is our 15th anniversary show, and we appreciate you being here, tuning in, and we hope that you will consider sharing our show with your friends, neighbors, relatives, co-workers, church friends, wherever you go. Share the strangeness, share the fun of Darkness Radio. All right, Tim. This is a story I found really interesting and fascinating.
Okay.
It seems that a Star Trek alum officially made the journey to outer space, although it was posthumously and in secret. Video game entrepreneur Richard Garriott recently revealed that he managed to smuggle the ashes of late James Doohan onto the International Space Station during a 12-day mission back in 2008. Doohan is best known for playing engineer Montgomery Scotty Scott on the original Star Trek series, as well as in several feature films. It was very clandestine, completely clandestine, Garriott said in an interview with the Times. His family were very pleased that the ashes made it up there, but we were all disappointed we didn't get to talk about it publicly for so long. Now enough time has passed on and we can. Doohan's son Chris contacted Garriott before his trip to the stars, asking Garriott to fulfill his late father's wish to be laid to rest among the stars. Upon receiving Doohan's ashes, Garriott printed 3 cards that featured a photograph of Doohan and laminated them with a sprinkling of ashes sealed inside. He managed to get one of those cards and bags aboard the ISS and hid it under the cladding on the floor of the space station's Columbus module. As far as I know, no one has ever seen it there, and no one has moved it, Garriott said, adding James Doohan got his resting place amongst the stars. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad that they have to sneak stuff like that up there. You would think just PR-wise, it would be pretty cool to, know that circling the planet, you've got Mr. Scott and Mr. Spock and whoever else wants to go up there that really kind of helped bridge the gap for so many people and made them want to become explorers.
Yeah, but I think there's something having to do with the illegal dumping of human remains.
Blah, bitty, blah, blah, blah. Stop raining on my parade, Tim Dennis.
Well, that has something to do with it. I have, raining and ashes.
I want you to take my ashes and put them in one of those T-shirt torpedo guns.
Yeah.
At the Vikings game and just blow me all over the audience, Tim. You heard me. I want you to blow me all over the audience, Tim.
Wow. I don't think they'd like that.
Tim, it's not about them. It's my last wishes.
I see.
Come on. Blow me, Tim. Blow me. For God's sakes, we've known each other long enough. Why can't you just blow me?
Wow.
All over the audience.
I see.
Something to consider.
That's your wish. Oh.
Hey, you know what my wish is? I want a phone call. How about if we take a call from one of our listeners off of our Voices from Beyond voicemail? It's time to hear a story, Tim.
Hi, Tim. It's Joanne. My first story is when we moved to Nevada into our new home north of Reno. I was in our bedroom and I saw native legs. I saw half of the male parts down with their Indian, I don't know if it's a skirt, but whatever, I don't want to disrespect anyone, what it's called, and the native legs down. I told them how much I respect the land and I want to respect it as much as they do, and it dissipated. The second story is when I was in my in-laws' house around the corner, I saw a shadow person. We had lived there for a year, and I didn't see anything. But when we were there last summer, barbecuing, and I came out of the bathroom, and I did a 180 to go down the hallway, and there was a shadow person standing outside of the bathroom. It's like it was waiting for me. And I took a deep breath like I was going to chest bump. I thought it was my husband or my father-in-law because I'm very short. I'm about 5'2", and this shadow figure was about 6 feet, 6'2". And I thought I was going to chest bump it. I inhaled real quick, went right through it, turned around, and there was nothing there. I saw a shadow person, and that's all I don't know anything else what to say about that. So, hope you guys have a good night. Love you guys. Been listening since 2009. You guys are awesome. Good night.
It's just that simple, my friends. Call in 651-300-4977. That's 651-300-4977 and share your real-life encounter with the strange and the supernatural. We want to hear about it right here on the program. Or you can always email them to me at dave@darknessradio.com. Tim?
Yes.
We talk about a lot of strange things on the show. Mm-hmm. But I've just been handed a conspiracy theory that seems to hold some water.
Such as?
All right. You asked for it. It's a theory regarding the movie Home Alone. Okay. And that the devil himself is the one that helped the McAllisters reunite. Are you intrigued, Tim?
I am intrigued. Go on.
In 1990's Home Alone, a true Christmas classic, as far as Shane Pittman thinks, arguably the movie's most satisfying moment came at its climax when Macaulay Culkin's Kevin McAllister was reunited with his mother, Kate, played by Catherine O'Hara. Kevin had endured the attempts of Harry and Marv to burgle his home whilst he was left home alone by his family, while Kate had done everything in her power to return to him upon coming to the realization that he'd been left behind. It may have appeared like Kate's efforts and the kindness of strangers were the reasons for the happy reunion. But there's a theory, Tim, a theory that a much more sinister force might have been at work. A sinister force in the form of none other than the devil himself. Reddit user Drew Gar posits that Gus Polinski, played by John Candy, was, in fact, Satan, and that Kate's willingness to sell her soul drew him to her. Shall I continue, Mr. Dennis?
Oh, please.
The theory explains that while Kate was at the Scranton airport, having flown in from Paris, she quite literally said, "If I have to get on your runway and hitchhike, if it costs me everything I own, if I have to sell my soul to the devil himself, I'm going home to get my son." And it was at that point that Gus approached her to offer his assistance in getting home to Chicago. It was as if he was taking up her offer for her soul. But of course, there's considerably more evidence than that, Tim. More evidence than that. Starting with the location of the meeting between the pair. There are crossroads located just to the right of the airport in Scranton. And there's a very noteworthy myth regarding crossroads and the devil. To summarize it, the myth states that any given individual can give an offering to the devil near a crossroads. In Kate's case, she offered her soul, and the devil will show up and deliver it in exchange for said offering. Now, following Gus and Kate's initial meeting, the former smiled and pointed to his friend who was renting the van they'd go on the drive to get Kate home in, which showed her that he was honoring his side of the deal. The final piece of evidence comes in the form of Gus's instrument of choice. He was a polka musician. That's enough for me right there to prove he was the devil. He was a polka musician who played the clarinet in a polka band, right, as seen when he played it in the van on the journey home and offered Kate a turn. There are some references in the Bible that woodwind instruments are the favored instruments of Satan himself, which certainly fits in with the idea that Gus was the devil incarnate. How do you like that? The devil was involved in that movie. Now it all makes sense of why it was so damn popular.
So the devil was the one who wrote, "I don't want her, you can have her, she's too fat for me"?
Yeah, and if there is no beer in heaven, right?
Yeah, if in heaven there is no beer, that's why we drink it here.
That's right. See, sounds like the devil's making sweet, sweet polka offerings all the time, Tim.
I see.
Asking that immortal question, who stole the Kishka? Who stole the Kishka? Who stole the Kishka? We want them to bring it back.
That's right. Don't bring me back to my Duran polka days, my friend. I will go all night long.
I want to talk about, we often talk about some of our favorite episodes of the past. And let's face it, it's always the same five. Dan Aykroyd episodes people love. The Ed Ozosky, It's My Baby Save It episodes, right? Mm-hmm. The woman who believed that she was dating Satan and she met him through the Penny Saver ad, right? Yeah. And he was a good dancer. There's that one. There's the Day the Devil Called, which is a great episode. Those are always kind of in the top 4 or 5 episodes that people refer to when they think of some of their favorite episodes. And I've agreed with them on that. But there have been some other awesome guests, Monsters and Mysteries of the Mojave from this last year with M.L. Berman.
Right, yeah.
That was a kick-ass episode and an amazing talk. The Black Monk of Pontefract with one of our favorite lean-in guests, Richard Estep. Or Estep.
Estep, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said, Richard Estep.
Yeah, exactly. I knew you said that, yeah.
Estep, yeah. Richard's been a great guest on the show for many years and coming in to share some great stories. But those are a couple of my favorites. If you think back, Tim, so I take you through the annals of time. I said annals, Tim. Annals of time.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think are some of your favorite episodes?
I got to go back to our friend from South Africa, Dave, and Wayne Herschel.
Ah, yes.
Yes.
That was a good... Well, you know what, though? That has a special place in our heart for, I think, different reasons. So.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Right? Because he had the book, The Hidden Records, which is a fascinating book.
It is.
But the fact that we got to meet Wayne Herschel, he happened to be coming to Minnesota.
Right.
And with no advertising, no promotion, was going to do a talk at the local Bloomington, I think, library.
Right, yeah.
6 of us showed up for the talk. And he was confident that the Masons, the Freemasons, had stopped all of the other people from coming.
Yes, yeah.
And that he had to be careful because they were out trying to kill him for telling the truth.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that was...
So we got to be a part of our own episode of the strange. I love Wayne, and I don't besmirch him that. He's a fascinating guy with interesting insights, but that was weird. That was a weird, fun element that went outside of the radio and kept us going.
Well, and the information itself was pretty interesting with the different star maps and whatnot. But it was a lot. It was like getting hit with a fire hose. And it's one of those episodes where if you're looking for information and you are truly not just a hobbyist in the paranormal, if you're looking for something deeper and you're looking for deeper theories, it truly is one of those episodes where if you really want to get lost in the information, Wayne Herschel is one of those guys who is a deep thinker. And it's a deeper episode, a deeper couple of episodes, because it was a 2-episode series.
Because that was back in the day when we only got 1 hour on the air, wasn't it?
Right, yeah. So it ended up being 2 hours, yeah.
Yep. So I would say that's a good one. What's another favorite episode?
On the lighter side of things, one of those episodes that felt like it could have gone anywhere. It was one of the first live celebrity episodes. Leatherface and Otis is what it's called. It was Andrew Bernarski and Bill Moseley. Remember when we were out at
not Scarefest, Crypticon, right?
Yeah. That was one of those episodes that could have gone anywhere, and it felt like it went anywhere.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Didn't we end up catching Andrew at like a Metallica concert, right?
Yes. Yeah. He was at a Metallica concert.
And he tells us this UFO story and then afterwards admits that he was pretty high at the time.
Exactly. So he blows his own credibility. Yeah. But it was a funny episode. It was a very funny episode and in a good one at that. Some of the ones that I really looked forward to, and you had mentioned it earlier, was the different interviews with the paranormal greats, like you were talking about earlier. The interviews with Peter James, the 2 shows with Peter James, the 2 hours there. Those were particularly intriguing.
Peter James was the medium, and he was featured on the show Sightings, and he was featured at the Queen Mary as their resident psychic, and had such profound communication with Jackie, the little girl's ghost. But he was a great, great guest, and just before we were slated to meet him, unfortunately, he lost his life.
Right. The hours spent with Lorraine Warren, I thought, were intriguing shows as well. It's kind of a walk through history. Know what I loved about that? Our very first episode with Lorraine Warren, I think at one point she even has to take a break because Ed was still alive, but basically in a comatose state. Yes. Yeah.
And she had to stop to go tend to him during the interview. And that interview, although it did talk about the paranormal, it was more of a When Harry Met Sally kind of story.
Yeah.
And it touched my heart that afterward she told me, David, in all the years, nobody's really ever talked to me about this part of my life. And that meant a lot to her. And boy, it just, I think that's why she came back. What'd she come back 4 or 5 times through the years?
I think so. I think it was 4. Yeah. There was, but that 1 hour was just dedicated to her and Ed's love story, which was it was a nice look at just the story between the 2 of them. And it was a look that I don't think anyone's ever took at the story of her and Ed.
Not at that time. Now, there was a new documentary that just came out that that covered it, but we did it 15 years ago.
Right. The hour you did with Hans Holzer, the last one of the last, I think, interviews that was ever done with him, wasn't it?
We were his last radio interview. Yeah.
That
was fascinating. And I remember, Alexandra came on for the first hour, I think, and then her father for the second hour.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. And we were pre-recording at that time. And I contacted Alex, and I'm like, I don't know if we should air this interview, Alex. And she's like, why? I had to work so hard to get that interview set up for you. And I said, yeah, but he's just so angry. And he's very repetitive in what he had to share. Mm-hmm. She goes, yeah, but Dave, that's my dad. And you asked him what his thoughts were.
Yeah.
He was telling you. And we went with that obligation, although I don't know that it necessarily showed Dr. Holzer in the best light, because he was an eloquent speaker. But at that stage in his life, he was harder of hearing and was a bit cantankerous.
But you know what? It showed an honest look at a man who was looking at the future of the paranormal. He didn't like what he saw. And that was, I guess that kind of tells you where the past met what would be the future. And it was kind of an interesting look. One of the ones, and I know we've played it quite often, but the one that I absolutely love for tension's sake, and I guess I love forum or I guess forum interviews is the way to put it, or even roundtable discussions. And this wasn't a discussion. This was a fight, and it was Lou Gentili and James Randi.
Right.
When the two of them, and they didn't necessarily sit down together, they went at each other. Unfortunately, that they never got together on the $1 Million Challenge. It was the one face-off they had together, face to face on the radio, or basically spouting off at each other as to why they wouldn't get together for this challenge. They didn't solve anything by any means on our air. But you got to see exactly how far apart they were in what they claimed they could do for each other or not do for each other. You really did get to see, I think, why the $1 Million Challenge didn't work.
Right.
It
definitely gave some insights. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people said, well, there's, you would fall on either a skeptical side or a believer side as to why the $1 Million Paranormal Challenge would or wouldn't work. I think on that show, you saw exactly why it didn't work. And it's a combination of both sides, as to why this thing didn't work. It really didn't work because, one, the people with the abilities were skeptical going in. And two, I think James Randi was just a cynic. And he wasn't going to believe anything. He would throw you through a million tests and still not believe what you brought him. So I think it was a combination of both sides. And I agree. That prize was never going to be won. And I think we pretty much laid it out on that show that it was never going to be won. And that was that.
Yep, I agree. 100%. That was a great episode. And we even had, to give the devil his due, we had Randy back on after Lou Gentili continued to back out of attempts when Randy came on our show and put it out pretty safe. This is how we'll do it. This is what I'll accept from him. And that's what Lou had claimed he wanted. Very clean, concise, outspoken directive. And as soon as we gave that to Lou, he backpedaled, and then unfortunately passed away before he ever went any further with that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. There's a show called, and I know you'll remember it, Valley of the Skookum.
Sure. With Sally Shepard Wolford or something like that?
Yes. The mother of Autumn Williams, which is a follow-up to a show that we did with Autumn Williams. And it's an intriguing and kind of I don't want to say heartwarming tale, because there's a little bit of a connection there. But essentially it's frightening. There's a little bit of a heartwarming tale there, but in the same respect, it's kind of a fight of humans versus nature, and it talks a little bit about how. What's a good way to put it, Dave?
I don't know. It talked about how we need to show respect.
Yeah.
Overall for all living creatures.
Yeah.
And that infringing on those areas and expecting different results was not necessarily going to work for anybody.
Exactly. So it kind of puts a brand new spin on, when you think maybe you can just trounce into the woods and get results as to whether you can go, looking for Bigfoot, maybe you should think twice. Is that a good way of putting it?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. It kind of gives you a new respect and perspective on whether you should be trouncing around looking for Bigfoot, and if you think you can command that sort of thing to happen, and whether you should, and whether you should be ready to live with the results of something like that.
How about the Bigfoot episode we did with the knucklehead who claimed to have shot and killed Bigfoot?
Yeah.
And then shot and killed one of its children, and both times left the body and scrambled away. He killed something.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, it's Bigfoot. And takes his shot and then goes away. That episode, I remember, enlightened people and pissed people off at the same time. It was a really weird episode all the way around. But that was another crazy one.
Yeah, it was. There was one that was an interesting look and a disturbing look too, and it involved our friend Bill Murphy about investigating New Orleans after Katrina.
Yes.
Yeah.
The world's largest ghost town.
Yep. A very intriguing episode, a very good episode with Bill Murphy.
And we've had a pretty eclectic and cool guests cross our show from celebrity world. Mm-hmm. We have had. And I'm going to try to remember. I know I'm not going to get them in any kind of real order. We've had James Von Prague. Mm-hmm. We had Marianne Winkowski, the real life ghost whisperer who the TV show was based on.
I was going to bring her up too. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we've got Dee Wallace, who was E.T.'s, surrogate mom. She was in The Howling. She was in so many great movies throughout history and horror movies. Robert Englund has been on our show twice, Tim.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Twice. You know who else was on our show? This was so cool for me, was getting a chance to talk to Troy Duffy and Sean Patrick Flannery from one of my all-time favorite movies, The Boondock Saints. Mm-hmm. We had them on the show. Robert Englund, Kane Hodder, who played Jason Voorhees in, I think, 5 of the Friday the 13th movies. Bill Moseley, who was Chop Top in the original, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Then he was one of the characters, and his name is evading me right now, but he was in the House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Trio and whatever the hell else the rest of those flicks were. He was also in the remake of Night of the Living Dead, playing Johnny. I got a really cool picture between him and Russell Streiner. Both played Johnny in the original Night of the Living Dead. Andrew Bernarski, who played Leatherface in the reboots. Bruce Campbell.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I geeked out like a complete nerd idiot on there. And speaking out of geeking out, Bruce Campbell and the Fonz, Tim, we got to talk to Henry Flippin Winkler on the show. Mm-hmm. The Fonz. We also got to talk to Potsy. So, Anson Williams came on the show. Talking about his mother's abilities with the supernatural and some really cool stuff. Then getting to talk to Kelly LeBrock from Weird Science, Edward James Olmos, Kelly Maroney from Chopping Mall and Night of the Comet and Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Jennifer Runyon, the beautiful blonde girl that Dr. Peter Venkman harasses at the beginning of Ghostbusters. She was also in so many great 80s movies and TV shows. Doug Bradley, Pinhead himself from the Hellraiser series. Then you remember 2 of the first celebrities we got, Tim? Pat Priest.
Yeah. From
the Munsters and Butch Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
Got to speak with them. Pat Priest was Marilyn Munster. Butch Patrick came on. Were there more? I know there was a couple times I was at conventions and I'd get a couple of the celebrities to tell me a story or two.
There was Eileen Dietz.
Eileen Dietz, that's right. She was the kind of when Reagan was made up in all of her makeup for The Exorcist, and had to do some of the more traumatic moves, it was Eileen Dietz playing that role. Mm-hmm. She was also the face of Pazuzu, the white demonic face.
Yep.
And she was that stand-in actress for the program. But horror movie-wise, we've had some cool characters come across. I think I spoke to Eric Stoltz, who told a really stupid ghost story, which I believe he made up on the spot about a haunted parrot or something.
Chris Sarandon was on the...
Right, Chris Sarandon, you're right. Jack Skellington himself was on the show. That was at Crypticon, wasn't it? I interviewed him and a bunch of the other celebrities.
And
John Kassir, the voice of the fucking Crypt Keeper, did some liners for us.
Yep.
Do you know where those are, Tim, those liners?
I think I do, yes. Yeah.
We'll have to dig some of those suckers out and play. We had the voice of the Crypt Keeper from the original Tales from the Crypt series, who is a delightful man.
And then, what's his name? Alex Vincent?
Oh, yeah, Alex Vincent, who played Andy in the Child's Play movies. So lots of, to me, that's been some of the cool aspects. Getting to go out and meet some of the celebrities and people I like and care about from entertainment fields, getting to meet so many of the great people from all the different paranormal TV shows, but getting out there and sitting down and talking to friends of our radio show. And again, I hate calling people fans because that makes it seem like we're in a different echelon. They're friends of the show because they support us, they love us, they tune in, they share us, they see us at these events and root for us and are there when we're on TV to cheer us on and so on. So that's been some of the most profound memories. Some of the best things have nothing to do with actually being on the air, but in meeting people at these events and the hugs and the laughter and, God, the way the fans embraced my mom at events and, treated her like their mom and, took care of her and watched out for her during ghost hunts. And, just such an amazing cast of characters we've come across through the years. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I've had a lot of people in my corner with different health issues that a lot of different friends that have been there and both seen and unseen, and I want to thank everybody. A lot of friends out there that have been in my corner that have sent well wishes and notes and emails and prayed for me and sent energy and even had just well wishes and just heartfelt thanks for all those people. I really do appreciate it.
Gosh, yeah. And the people that have come forward with their prayers and positivity. And, I really do attribute the love of the audience from around the world when my son Damien was born, my last son. He was very premature. They didn't know if he was going to survive. They didn't know if his mom was going to survive having the baby. She was in preeclampsia. She was very sick. It was touch and go, and I stopped at the hospital and I posted on social media at the time, which might have been Facebook, might have been MySpace. I don't remember, but I put on there, please, prayers are needed. And the outpouring of love and emails and posts, and they told me, and this is why I believe in the power of prayer, dude. We've seen it time and time again, but they told me my son, who was, 2.5 months premature, it would take at least that amount of time for him to be in the hospital, plus usually double. So he was 2.5 months. They were expecting him to be there for the next 5 to 6 months in the hospital to be, in ICU and NICU, the neonatal intensive care unit. Mm-hmm. And they said he has to be able to retain his own body heat. He has to be able to swallow properly. He has to meet all these criteria. We were home in 2 weeks with our son.
It's amazing.
2 weeks because of the outpouring. Her preeclampsia, everything that it could have killed her and hurt her, just stopped in its course. So it's pretty amazing. And I give glory to God and thank so many people for raising their voices up for doing these things for you and the numerous times you've needed it going into the hospitals and the times I've gone in and have had surgeries and people outpouring of love, and for our friends and family when we posted prayer requests. That's another aspect of the show that's really been powerful to me, is watching people come together. How about our Christmas Angels program?
Yeah.
For years, I think it was like 4 or 5 years, we did this Christmas Angels program where people just full of love sent hundreds of dollars of gifts to families in need. I would tell them the name of the family. I'd tell them the kids, the ages, the sizes, their interests. And it wasn't like, Bob reached out to me to just get one present for one of the kids. He would reach out to me and want to know everything about every kid and would buy at least one gift. And I would sometimes, we'd have 4 or 5 or 6, 7 families. I think up to one year we got up to 10 or 11 families. Mm-hmm. And these people sent me pictures under their Christmas tree, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
The stacks and mounds of toys and clothes. That chokes me up.
Yeah.
The tens of thousands of dollars we've raised for with the help of our audience. Let me make sure that's the important part. For Second Harvest Heartland.
Yeah.
That is equated to hundreds of thousands of meals that went to people in need. It's been harder the last few years, not having that immediacy to communicate and do what we've done in the past, and we've pulled back from it. But I promise you, in 2021, we're going to rearm those aspects of our show to continue to help the community. And we raised over $1 million for charities during our live events. With the help of all the great celebrities who would donate willingly of their time, efforts, artistic creativity, of their own personal items to auction off at these events so that we could raise money for Shriners Children's Hospitals, for Haven House Battered Women's Shelter, for so many different animal organizations. It's pretty impressive to see how giving and large-hearted our audience has been. And that's, to me, Tim, we've had issues with advertisers through the years that just don't see, I just don't see people listening to your show and buying our products. And I'm like, you have no idea of the depth of the people that listen to our show.
Yeah.
From homebound elderly to multimillionaires to NASA employees to lawyers, police, doctors, neurosurgeons. We've got people across the spectrum, and they spend money when there's something to spend money for. Mm-hmm. And supporting our show with the advertising, thank you all for doing that. But for the advertisers that saw through that BS and didn't use it as an excuse, man, thank you for believing in us and believing in the show.
I got to tell you a quick story. It's kind of funny.
Sure.
My sister works in the Fairview system here in Minnesota, the hospital system. And she was going to lunch one day, and she's sitting with a bunch of her friends at Fairview, and they're sitting there and they're eating, and actually one of her friends, one of the employees there, is listening to our show, and because my sister has a different last name than I do, she I don't remember how it came up, but the show came up, and a couple of her friends that were there at the table kind of looked at my sister and said, your brother is famous. To which I laughed, and she goes, "Oh, no, it's just my brother."
Right. Well, my son, who's a firefighter in Minneapolis, when people hear his last name, because they're night shift people, mm-hmm. a lot of them recognize the name because of Darkness Radio, for so many years from 9 to midnight, Monday through Friday. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Cliff, my son, has to go through that same junk. They're like, "Hey, Schrader, you're not related to that Dave Schrader guy on the radio, are you?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's my dad." And they're like, "That is so cool." And he's like, "No, he's just my dad." So that's kind of a fun little aspect of it.
It is. It's cute too. It's just, it's fun to have. And what's fun is to be able to tell people that you do the show and to turn people onto the show and have them listen, because there are some really cool guests that are on the show that provide information and have great stories. And that's the main reason. Like I'll talk to, when I go into the clinic or when I go into different places. I tend to tell different nurses and doctors and stuff about the show, and wherever I go, I tend to tell people about the show and get them turned on to the show. So when it's just kind of funny when my sister tells me a story like that, I tend to laugh at stuff like that. I don't tend to get a big head about it, but I tend to laugh about it because I think it's funny. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's very cool, and I will tell you, 15 years in, I'm no more comfortable getting recognized out in public when I don't expect it. So let me just continue to apologize to the poor people. I did this about a week ago. I'm driving, and I'm heading out to the store to get a couple provisions. And this guy comes flying up next to me, blaring his horn, and he's waving at me, and I'm looking, I'm like, what the is wrong with this guy? Right? And he's like pointing at me and giving me the thumbs up and pointing at me, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing? What, do I have something hanging from my nose? What? And then my daughter goes, you've got Darkness Radio logos all over your car.
Yeah.
You're on the Holzer Files. And I went, oh, yeah.
Yeah, just wave.
We've been out. It's worse when I'm in my car. I get really snappish and give people dirty looks. But like if I'm out at Walgreens or something and somebody recognizes me and my kids are around, I go into this panicky mode and I can't look at anybody, and I'm shuffling at the floor. I'm like, oh, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. And I'm sure people just think, oh, what a dick. I am unbelievably shy one-on-one. And especially if my kid's around, I just get really uncomfortable. It's a weird vibe. So if you do bump into me, I appreciate you understanding that. You can say hi. Just don't expect a whole bunch from me at first. And what was cute, I went to see the Stray Cats last year at one of the casinos, Treasure Island, I think, right? And I went with a buddy of mine and a guy from high school and my wife. And as I'm walking along, all of a sudden I feel this gentle pat on my shoulder, and I kind of turn my head back, and there's a guy, and he goes, just keep looking forward. I know you get uncomfortable when people approach you in public, but I just want you to know I really love your radio show. Aww. And I just thought that was so cool. And then a few minutes later, somebody that comes up on the other side and taps me and does basically the same thing. They're like, hey, I know you don't like being approached in public. You get nervous, but I really love your show, and I just want you to know how much we appreciate it. So to me, those were cool little moments like that. People get the fact that I get nervous. You think after 15 years of doing the radio show and TV, I wouldn't be so unnerved, but I get so standoffish in person, unless I'm like at a convention, man, then you can't get away from me. I'll hug and chat and hang out with you the whole time. But it's like when I'm not expecting it, I'm the worst person to try to come up to. So I give, I feel for people that say, oh, I bet, I went to go meet my favorite celebrity and they were just dicks. They barely spoke or acknowledged me. And I just know a lot of people are like me. They're introverts that are extroverts when they do their job. And I give a lot of credit. You're much better at it. You're very gregarious and people can recognize you and you don't flex. I fold and feel like a complete bumbling idiot.
Oh, I like to meet people. It's fun. I was just thinking as people are coming up and tapping you on the shoulder, I can just see one more guy tapping you on the shoulder and going, okay, I'm just going to reach in and grab your wallet now. Don't move.
Don't make this thing get weird.
Don't make it awkward.
That's right. All right. We got some more news to cover as well. Bigfoot bombshell as an Oxford boffins find legendary beast has polar bear DNA. How about that, Tim? Uh-huh. Here's the mythical beast whose possible existence has fascinated people and confused scientists for centuries. Bigfoot, Yeti, Abominable Snowman, the Sasquatch. Those are just some of the names for these mysterious ape-like creatures who've been spotted roaming the earth. Could they be ancient humans, such as Neanderthals? Or are they half human, half ape, a new and undiscovered animal species? Or simply a hoax? Now, a leading scientist has traveled around the world, including the USA, Tim. That's right, around the world and the USA.
Wow.
The Himalayas and Russia to take a closer look at the legend. Brian Sykes, who is a professor of human genetics at Oxford University, also put out a worldwide call for Bigfoot samples, such as hair, that he can subject to the most sophisticated DNA tests available. The most ambitious Bigfoot DNA analysis ever seen. Sykes believes his DNA tests are 100% accurate. He has been previously involved in high-profile cases dealing with ancient DNA, including that of the Otzi, the Iceman, the mummy of a man who lived between 3,400 to 3,100 BCE. Bigfoot is, of course, a controversial subject beset with scandals that have destroyed the careers of previously respected scientists in the past, but this has not put off Sykes. He says science doesn't accept or reject anything. All it does is examine the evidence, and that is what I'm doing. I want to find the answer, and that should be the basis for any scientific investigation. If there's anything really exciting, we will find it. Sykes' work is explored in a 3-part documentary series on Blaze, which starts on New Year's Day. The first episode focuses on the legend of the Yeti, believed to be roaming the Himalayan mountain range. From the British diplomat who first heard stories of wild men attacking people in 1832 to the journalist who coined the phrase the abominable snowman in 1921, there have been varying descriptions of the Yeti. Often he's described as varying in height between 5 and 9 feet. He's well built and covered in white, brown, or reddish fur. Although sightings are rare and evidence is scant, there have been a few incidents over the years, and the Yeti has appeared in stories of the Himalayan Sherpa people. Bigfoot Files presenter scientist Mark Evans, who worked with Sykes on the show, traveled to Nepal to find the real story behind these centuries-old tales. He endured altitude sickness at Everest Base Camp, where a photograph of a footprint in the snow there led to Yeti mania back in 1951. He also looked at an ancient manuscript and spoke to people who claimed to have had encounters with the creature. As a biologist, I leapt at the chance to be involved in Brian Sykes' project, said Evans. Every part of the Himalayas has its own legend, and our challenge is to unpack the various theories that fuel this. In Nepal, Mark met with one Sherpa who witnessed a Yeti attack 50 years ago when he was 16. San Hisha described being high on the mountain. Well, part of that statement's right, Tim. With his zapkio, a cross between a yak and a cow used for trekking, when he heard a big noise. We were really scared that the Yeti was going to kill us, he recalls, saying that they slept in a rock cave in order to hide. The next morning, we found that 2 of the zapkio had been killed by the Yeti and had been eaten. The Yeti looked like a human walking on 2 legs. He was dark brown, but his face was white. Evans also spoke to French explorer Christophe Hagenmüller, who came face-to-face with a Yeti in 2003. Hagenmüller said that he was told by somebody he helped while trekking that they had heard a hunter had killed a strange creature. He thought he could show me the creature, but on the condition that I had to promise I would never reveal the place where I would travel with them and see the animal, said Hagenmüller. We traveled for 4 days to a village. There I met the hunter and saw the animal, which was killed 30 years ago. It's stuffed. The first thing that came to my mind is that it's a mix of a wolf and a bear. It was sized like a human being with long fur and a big mouth and large teeth, Hagenmüller said. He asked if he could take fur samples from the hunter, which he took back to Europe. When he heard about Sykes' project, which saw him receiving Yeti hair from all over the Himalayas for his research, he sent them in for testing. Although Sykes and Evans initially thought it could be a brown bear, it did not come back with the result they were expecting. The DNA result is a perfect match with a polar bear, says Sykes. It was so unusual we had to double check it, and strangely, it isn't a modern polar bear. It matches ancient polar bear DNA from a jawbone of a species that died, or at least believed to have died, over 40,000 years ago. The result was also found on a sample of Yeti hair from Bhutan, but the Himalayas is unable to support the marine life needed for polar bears to feed. Sykes' theory is it was a hybrid between a brown bear and polar bear that had traveled to the mountain range from the Arctic North many years ago. Maybe when the Yeti is seen, it's one of these hybrid bears because they're not behaving like a normal bear, he adds. Polar bears hunt humans, and maybe these hybrid bears do too. This is a massively important result as to the identity of the Yeti. This may well be the basis for the Yeti legend throughout the whole of the Himalayas. Bigfoot Files is showing on Blaze on New Year's Day at 6 p.m. New Year's Day, Tim.
New Year's Day.
It's on the New Year's Day from 6 p.m. on Blaze. So that's one way you can check it out, I guess.
Yeah.
Let me see. I think I'm going to... I don't know what I should. You know what? While I think about this, let's take another call. This is time for Parashare. We want to hear from you. 651-300-4977. Call in and share your story. Just like this.
Hey, Tim and Dave. Terry here. Listened to the podcast for a couple of years now. Just listened to the last episode where Drew was talking about his kids and stuff. Got me thinking about my kid was 4. He was outside playing, and he comes running in scared. Says, "There's a man out there. There's a man out there." So I go out there, look. It's during the day. Of course, there's going to be somebody out there, but I don't see anybody out there. I'm just like, okay, whatever. Maybe saw a neighbor. And then about a few days later, I was at work. My sister was watching him and told me that he came running in her bedroom saying, "There's a man in the living room. There's a man in the living room." Scared. Don't know what it is. Don't know what it could be. But just thought I'd share that. And then another time at work, me and my buddy, we both found your podcast while at work. We were sitting on break. We're messing around. We'll always just say Zozo. We kick a chair over in the corner, say "F you, Zozo." And then all the lights in the warehouse turn off. We don't know what happened. There was no storms out, nothing. So we go walk towards the front of the warehouse, to go figure out what's going on. And we swore we seen something peek out at us from around the corner and then disappeared. And then the lights come right back on. Kind of freaked us out. Don't know what it was, but yeah, just thought I wanted to share my story and give a shout out to my buddy Adam Shepard. Thanks for sharing my story if you share it. Bye.
All right, we are back. This is Darkness Radio. Tim.
Yes.
I think you're familiar with Michel de Nostradamus. Am I correct?
I've heard the name once or twice, yeah.
Yeah, Nostradamus, Tim. He is believed to be one of the best predictors of future events ever.
Well, that's going a little far, but okay.
Ever. And Nostradamus had some strange predictions for the year 2021, Tim. We thought murder hornets and race wars and pandemics and political strife was bad, Tim. Are you ready for asteroids? Not the video game, Tim.
Mm-hmm.
Asteroids, famine, and zombies.
I think, in all fairness, before you start here, I think people take the quatrains a little far. I think they read into them a lot.
Do they?
Yeah.
Boy, you hate losing, don't you? If you thought this year was bad, just wait for 2021. I saw a little meme the other day. I thought it was cute. You thought 2020 was bad. Wait till it turns 21 and starts drinking.
Yep.
Yeah, French philosopher Michel de Nostradamus has forecast famine, devastating asteroids, and even a zombie apocalypse to occur in the next 12 months. I can taste those damn Twinkies right now, Tim. Nostradamus, who died back in 1566, found modern fame with his scarily accurate track record for predicting future events like the Apollo 11 moon landing, assassination of JFK, 9/11, and World War II. Among his terrifying prophecies for 2021, the 16th century astrologer hinted that Russian scientists would create a biological weapon that will create a virus which turns people into zombies. Few young people half dead to give a start. Dead through spite, he will cause the others to shine, and in an exalted place, some great evils to occur, he wrote. Sad concepts will come to harm each one. Temporal dignified, the mass to succeed. Fathers and mothers dead of infinite sorrows. Women in mourning, the pestilence, she-monster. The great one to be no more. All the world to end. Now, if that wasn't bad enough, Nostradamus also prophesied, Tim, McRib's going away in 2021.
McRib is gone as of the end of this week.
He's right. Apparently, he's right again. Damn you, Nostradamus! Damn you all to hell! You blew it up, you maniac!
Well, I mean, McDonald's came out with something that said it's gone as of the end of this week. I mean,
that's because they read that Nostradamus predicted this.
No, I mean, they just came out with an announcement that said it's gone as of the end of this week. You don't need Nostradamus for that.
Well, here's the actual prediction. Nostradamus prophesied that a great famine of biblical proportions would cause chaos across the earth, which is obviously the removal of the McRib sandwich. After great trouble for humanity, a greater one is prepared. The great mover renews the ages. Rain, blood, milk, famine, steel, and plague is the heavens' fire seen. A long spark running, he said. And it gets worse, Tim. Nostradamus also claimed Earth would be smashed by solar storms and a huge comet to top off the year around Christmas time. Writing, in the sky one sees fire and a long trail of sparks. But you probably shouldn't lose any sleep over Nostradamus' grim predictions. The philosopher's writings have been widely criticized by Tim Dennis for being incredibly vague.
Yep.
Sometimes wrong.
Yep.
Including in 2012, when the world didn't actually end. Now, Nostradamus didn't say the world was going to end in 2020 or 2012. That was the Mayan. They didn't even predict it. What they said was, that they ran out of calendar pages. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be reading that incorrectly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So there you go. That's it, Tim. I don't know if you just want to pay up now to kind of ease my pain over the loss of McRib.
Oh, no.
By shooting me the old.
No, Dave.
What?
Oh, no. What? No, see, there was a bigger story, Dave. A bigger story that is based in reality. In the here and now, Dave.
All right, I'm listening.
Right,
you got
here,
my attention.
Right now, Mr. Jesus Jones, there is no other place other than the terrifying, what Charles and Harvey called absolutely the beginning of the robot apocalypse, I believe is what they said on TMZ yesterday. Boston Dynamics is become the new Skynet, Dave. There's a video out there which has only been sent to me 375 times this past week because people just want to frighten me to the point where I poop myself silly. A couple of robots, a robot dog and a robot human, a cyborg, if you will, Dave. I don't know if it's half man, half human. I don't know what it is, but it dances and it's frightening. A couple of robots dancing to Do You Love Me? Completely autonomous, Dave. People are saying it's neat, but it's terrifying. That's what Charles and Harvey have said, and I agree with them wholeheartedly. They're listening to the music, Dave, and moving to it on the beat. The robot apocalypse, and this is a story from TMZ.
Wait, is this an apocalypse or a robot dance-off, Tim? Because those are two totally different things.
It's the same thing, Dave. I
don't think so.
This is a story from TMZ. This is not me putting words into the story. This is the story from TMZ. I'm reading it word for word. I've sent you the story so you can see that I am not embellishing as I read this. The robot apocalypse is looking a lot closer and a little funkier because some advanced machines are flaunting their dancing skills complete with choreography. Boston Dynamics released a video to ring in the new year, which features their two signature machines, Atlas and Spot, the dog robot, looking very in sync like, dancing in unison to the Contours hit Do You Love Me? BD writes, our whole crew got together to celebrate the start of what we hope will be a happier year. Happy New Year from all of us at Boston Dynamics. What they don't mention, how and why they got their droids on the good foot like this. The AI is terrifyingly state-of-the-art here. Robots putting on their best So You Think You Can Dance audition. We should have seen the choreographed number coming. We already seen Atlas and Spot do everything from Parker to opening doors and picking up boxes, which they do have a video of them picking up boxes and basically throwing them and crushing people's heads with them, by the way. So
that part is a lie. I'm reading along with you. There's no mention of crushing people's heads.
Well, I put that part in there.
See?
So while
So what you essentially have is robots picking up and putting down boxes and having a dance-off. And that's your...
No. I continue. Apocalypse. So while this is neat and all, TMZ says, we're personally praying the Boston Dynamics team has a fail-proof shutdown for these things. They still can't sing, though, right? They say. So we're going to ride or die with the Temptations. So there you go, Dave. TMZ is backing me, saying this is the beginning of the robot apocalypse. It is in black and white. It is right there. the beginning of Skynet begins with Boston Dynamics. I win. You can just safely ship
dancing and
my box of Twinkies.
Box lifting. Okay. I'll tell you what. I'll just have one of my box lifting robots bring over the Twinkies to you now.
No. Old fashioned. I will wait for it. Send
Twinkie.
it to my P.O. box.
No. I don't know. All right. How about this, Tim? Sure. For the new year, let's make a couple of not predictions, because we've learned through the years that our predictions suck and we're never right. So although I got Kirk Douglas UFOs and something else right, everything else was off. How about we're going to lay to rest a couple of classic bits, Tim?
All right.
Okay. Throwing into the 2020 pot, Tim, I will never attempt to give out your phone number and address again.
Thank God.
So this is your last chance, folks. 612. What? What? I'm not going to do it in 2021, Tim. So let's just get her done right now. So call Tim.
Dave. What? I don't need people knowing my phone number and address.
I think you might, Tim, because if the zombie apocalypse or the dancing AI cyborg apocalypse takes place, you're going to want people to come get you and save you, Tim.
I got plenty of ammo around here. Dave, I got plenty of ammo here.
I don't know that you do. What if you need Twinkies and I can't get there because I've been squashed by dancing robots, Tim? Somebody might need to bring you Twinkies to 314.
Dave, what? I got Instacart.
Oh, Instacart.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess, But if these people are also Instacart drivers and they have trouble finding what you need, they should probably call you at 612. What?
I got it in my phone. It's okay.
Wow. All right. Well, that's it, folks. There will be no more attempts to give out Tim's phone number. Period. Except for in today's description of the show program guide. Make sure you check it out. What?
No. Don't put it.
Don't always listen in on my conversations with other people. It's rude, Tim.
Well, it's rude that you're trying to give out my address and my phone number, Dave.
That I want people to be able to come and hug you and bring you things.
There's a pandemic,
take a look
Dave.
At the rude guy.
There's a pandemic out there, Dave.
Tim.
You trying to get me sick?
So never again. 2021 going forward. That's the last time people are going to hear it unless they listen to reruns of the episode. Tim, maybe it's time we also put to rest phenomena.
Do.
Phenomena.
Do.
Phenomena.
Do.
Yes, you will no longer hear that uttered from my lips on this show. I think. I don't know. That one I don't know if I could beat back. That's kind of my musical Tourette's issue. You realize how hard it was to read the news story earlier today? That was like every other word was phenomena.
Yeah.
But I did pretty well, I thought. I don't know. People are just always barking at me and they're like, stop trying to give out his phone number and address. It's not funny. Apparently those people sound like Rolf the dog too.
They do. They sound like the devil. Yeah.
That's one thing I'll never give up is my massive amount of awesome imitations.
Yeah. Well, you shouldn't.
Devil.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody, I'm the devil. Bigfoot. Hey, everybody, I'm Bigfoot. Tim's mom. Hey, everybody, I'm Tim's
my mom does not sound like Ralph the dog. She sounds like Ralph the dog if you squeezed his nuts.
Wow.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
Hey, everybody, I'm Tim Dennis's mom.
Oh, you're close. You're getting there.
Here's an email. Hi, guys. I just wanted to thank both of you so much for what you do. I won't go into details, but you've gotten me through extremely difficult times since your inception. Does that mean since Egg and Seed or since the radio
show? Since 1970?
Wow, 67 in my case.
Yeah.
I have two questions that I would like to pose to you both. One, haunted dumps. No, not the binge-eating McRib kind, it says.
No.
Have you ever heard tell of hauntings at garbage dumps or landfills? Reason being, there are so many people's belongings taken there over the years, and eventually after they pass on. Well, I bet you there's a lot of bodies buried at the old dump as well.
Oh, yeah.
Just a theory. I have not. That's an interesting, compelling. If anybody has worked at a dump, that Look, I found something to replace phenomena with, Tim.
Yeah, it's good.
If you work at the dump and you know of a paranormal experience, not that you've had a haunted dump, but if you've worked at a haunted dump and know about it, share it with us. Email us. You can email me, dave@darknessradio.com. You can call Tim at home at 612. Sorry. I mean, at our Voices from Beyond voicemail, 651-300-4977. That's 651-300-4977. Are there any dump workers out there that would like to share a story with us? We'd like to hear from it. Number 2 question. This was a theory suggested by my girlfriend, and we would like your thoughts in a sensitive topic, so adjust it accordingly if need be.
Oh.
Do you think that reincarnation in past lives may have something to do with the topic of sexuality and transgender? Like, if we are constantly reincarnated in different bodies and relationships, after time, would that affect how we feel in our new incarnation? I have a family member who is homosexual, so please understand I'm not against either. I respect those who respect me, and love is love. Once again, thank you both so much. All the best in the new year. And that comes from Shane in Nova Scotia, Canada, right down by the Ontario-Austin border, I think, Tim.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Can I weigh in real quick on this?
Yeah, please.
Okay. You remember our good friend Edie, the psychic?
Yes.
She once told me something in confidence, but I'll tell you this in a way that I can state it generally. And it had to do with a relationship. So I'll try to put it in general terms. In regards to the relationship, she was trying to talk about past lives and reincarnation and coming back in different forms. So in this life, you may be a male, but you may come back in the next life as a female. And coming back with one particular person in your life. So you come back as a male, and that mate of yours that comes back in this different lifetime, you come back as a male, they come back as a female. The next life, you come back as a female, they come back as a male, and you gender switch from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. But the reason you do so is so that you can learn different lessons. Like, say, for example, in one lifetime, I'm a male, she's a female. I've transgressed against her. And maybe I'm the one who, like, let's say, cheated in this lifetime, and I broke her heart. In the next lifetime, she transgressed against me and broke my heart. And there's this chain in which we need to learn from lifetime to lifetime. It may not necessarily be a sexuality thing. It may be a life lesson thing, and the reason why you're changing genders from lifetime to lifetime. That's the one lesson I got from Edie before she passed. I wouldn't look at it as a sexuality thing. It may be a life lesson thing in the reason why you're switching genders from lifetime to lifetime.
That's an interesting insight. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so stop transgressing against each other, damn it. What's wrong with you people? All right, very cool. Let me see here. We do have a couple more emails I wanted to make sure we could get to. Shane, I hope we answered your question. Truthfully, I don't know. Could it be a gender-confused soul that's given to a different physicality and they still are feeling the association with the last body they were in? Possibly. I don't know. It certainly makes some sense if you believe in reincarnation. Hello, Dave and Tim.
Hi.
First off, I was late to the non-mainstream radio. I'm 42 years old now, and I've gotten older. I've moved away from radio music to talk radio. In 2010, I was up late scanning radio stations. I found Coast to Coast AM. As I went through the years listening to Coast, I heard a guest host one night. You then spoke about Darkness Radio. This was when you were leaving radio for podcast. When I first heard the signature Darkness Radio theme and then the show, I was hooked. So while no episode is my favorite per se, my favorite is when I discovered the show. Even if the guest or topic doesn't interest me, you guys make it interesting. Also wishing that I had started listening to the show from day one. I'm just glad you and Tim are still going strong. In fact, stronger than ever. It's not easy to keep a show going in these times. You've done it 15 years, so thank you and congratulations. Forever, Team Darkness, from a guy in the best state in America, your state's neighbor, Wisconsin. That comes from Chad.
We'll forgive you.
Yeah. The last line made all the rest of it sound delusional.
Yeah, well,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
I could be wrong. No. Thinking about favorite guests, too, going back, how about David Weatherly and Jason Offutt? Without them, the Black Eyed Kids, I guarantee you, dude, the Black Eyed Kids started with David and Jason sharing it on our show. Mm-hmm. Our fascination and devotion to that topic, I believe, is what helped cause and push that thing into mainstream.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that. Because for a while, the only place you could find it was through Darkness Radio stuff. Right. Then everybody jumped on.
Yeah, it's true.
But also, of course, Jeff Belanger, one of the best friends of the show and best humans we've ever met, who's been part of our show on so many different occasions in so many different ways and so many different topics.
Yep.
Bill Burns also filling in as a pinch hitter for us. He can come in and talk about any topic and make it fascinating and like he was ready to go on the air that moment anyway. And there are many times Jeff or Bill Burns have jumped in the last minute because a guest canceled on us.
Yep.
And I throw him a topic. Mark Anthony also.
Yep.
So much more than just the attorney and medium and psychic and lawyer. He is truly a gifted guest because I will tell him, I want to do a topic on this, but I can't find anybody. He goes, give me a week. And a week later, he is prepared and sounds like he's studied it his entire life.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So that's cool. That's very cool. Alan Warren, who's been a very big help behind the scenes for years with True Crime Tuesday. Because Alan is one of those guys that's tied into the true crime realm, does his own program, and never hesitates to help me find guests when I'm in a bind. So Alan Warren, God bless you, brother. We love you. Thank you for all that you do and for being a part of this. I do want to ask real quickly a special prayer request since we mentioned it earlier, Tim.
Yeah.
Shane Pittman, my co-host on the Holzer Files. His father is in the end stages of life. His cancer has progressed pretty horribly, and he is going to hopefully be returning home in the next few days to make that transition with his family around him. So just if you could put out a prayer and positivity for his father to find some peace. I know this is a very scary time for his dad and for Shane. Just surround them in love and warmth and whatever you can send their way. I'd appreciate that personally.
Love you, Shane. Stay strong.
Love you,
brother.
buddy. Yeah. All right. Here's a story you might be able to use on your show. That's what Ricky writes into us about. Ever since the late 1990s, my wife and I have gone to bed with Art Bell or George Norrie on the radio or iPad. We're God-loving believers in the supernatural. After all, God is supernatural, as are his angels and councils in heaven. We find all things paranormal fascinating and still listen faithfully and subscribe to Darkness Radio to get our supernatural and paranormal fix in for the week. I think everyone who listens wonder why this paranormal stuff always happens to other people, and the same is true for me. I would almost try to force it sometimes, and back before I found Darkness Radio, which was in 2013, Coast to Coast AM had a guest on who shared how we could will himself into an out-of-body experience, and that he practiced doing so. He also explained how to do it. OBEs fascinate and scare me. He talked about entering giant voids and flying in what seemed like space. He mentioned that you could encounter evil ones as well as good ones in your encounters with spirits. Well, that certainly quelled my desire to even try this out, at least for a while. One quiet evening at home, my son was away at college and daughter was in the upstairs bedroom. My wife and I retired for the night and turned on our then favorite Art Bell on Coast to Coast AM. Art Bell was talking about OBEs again, and so I turned to my wife and sort of half joking said, I might try that tonight. If you see somebody floating around, that's me, so don't shoot. We had a queen-size poster-style bed at the time, and as I was drifting off, I started focusing on the top corner of one of the posts. And as I drifted off, I suddenly felt a jerk, and as quick as a flash, I was looking down on the bed. I was there. My wife was there, but my soul was up in the corner of the room looking down on us. I was at first fascinated, and then I let fear get into me, and I snapped back into my body, still looking around, but now from the bed. I truly believe I had a genuine out-of-body experience, because when I dream, which is a lot, I never see myself or loved ones. I only feel their presence or am mentally talking to them. This time was way different. I felt myself above the bed. I didn't feel anything in the body that was laying on the bed next to my wife. The sensation was so real, I wanted to go out of the room and explore, but I feared the unknown. I've never had the same experience again. Sadly, as I get older, I wish I would. Maybe I'll just ask God to send me a guardian and try again some night. That comes from Rick, Ohio. Rick, very cool story. Sounds like you had your out-of-body experience, man. And maybe that's all you needed to see. Maybe what the real learning in that was that we do survive the physical form, that there are two parts to every whole, and you got to see one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could be wrong. Tim says that I am quite often.
Oh, well, I don't say that quite often.
Yeah, I know. I can't. It is what it is. Hey, here's an email and a prayer request coming in. Hi, Dave and Tim. I'm a longtime listener back to the Mally Fox days, and of course, I love your show. You don't know how many times I literally LOL listening to you guys, and I've watched every episode of the Holzer Files multiple times. Can't wait for the Holzer Files review of season 1. Now, what she's referring to there is starting next week, we're going to start viewing the Holzer Files from season 1. We'll watch season 1, and then Thursday nights, I'm going to do a live Holzer's Ghosts after discussion about that episode, go deeper into the episode, deeper into the topic that you witnessed on that show, and I hope you'll come along for the ride with me, and we'll be doing that as we go through all 10 episodes leading to the return of season 2 and the final 7 brand new episodes that will begin airing around March. So that's what's going on. Now, back to this letter. It says, I wish a better reason had motivated me to finally write, but I'm reaching out for a prayer and healing request. I'm writing from isolation. I'm with my son in the hospital, and he's battling COVID and pneumonia. And today, his blood sugar is spiking to dangerous levels, likely from the steroids and stress on his body. What makes this extra challenging is that he has autism. Every interaction with strangers, head to toe in protective gear on a virtual nonstop basis is challenging. He's sensitive to lights. He has had 3 different IVs put in, shots in his belly every 12 hours, blood draws, and now finger pricks and insulin shots. As an autism parent yourself, I'm sure you can understand just how horrible this all is. It may sound crazy, but I'm thankful that they've allowed me to isolate with him so I can take care of him. But I can't leave the room at all, which is just odd. Luckily, he is slowly getting better, but we are going into day 5 in the hospital, and his new glucose obstacle could extend things even longer. Please send love and light to my pure-hearted, sweet, brave son, Holden. I would also ask if you share my story, not only for my request, but to tell people to stay home, to wear masks if they do go out. This disease is absolutely brutal. And even if you're lucky enough to survive, there could be long-term repercussions, not to mention the mental trauma of the millions of families impacted by COVID. My son caught COVID from his dad, who caught it from work, and he had been sick at home caring for himself in isolation, feeling helpless and guilty, even though he has no choice but to work. It started with a coworker who thought it was a great idea to have a family get-together at Thanksgiving during a pandemic. This led to my son and I spending Christmas in the hospital, with my husband at home in solitude, looking at unopened gifts under the tree. Please, people, I beg you, take this seriously. Thank you so very much for reading my email. Dave, I hope your hospital visit goes well, and I'm sorry, but Tim is right. And AI Skynet is going... Oh, I'm sorry, I can't read the rest of this.
Oh, come on.
I can't. And then it says something about, and I love Phenomenon, never stop. I also included links to some fun songs you might like, even if it's not 80s music. So she sent me a couple of songs that I'll listen to a little bit later. But thank you, and much love, Jennifer.
Thank you, Jennifer.
We just ask for prayers and comfort for your son, for you and for your husband. We also just ask that there's wisdom given to the doctors and the caretakers to know the best way to handle your son and to help him recuperate and get out of the hospital soon. So thank you very much for listening and letting us into your world to share that story. God bless you all. Hey, Dave and Tim. First of all, love the show. I'm currently listening to the first year of Archives, and I love Dave's NPR voice and hearing Tim bust out laughing in the background. I had an NPR voice?
Mm-hmm. Sure did.
Let me hear. Okay, so this is my voice right now. Good evening and welcome. You're listening to the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio. Mm-hmm. Now, you do the impersonation of me in year one.
Would you like to try my Schrader balls?
God, really? I was that.
You were very subdued. Yeah, actually, you were like, good evening and welcome to Darkness Radio. I'm Dave Schrader, and along with me is Tim Dennis. Hello, Tim. Yeah, you were very subdued. You were.
What I was I think the proper term is I was very cordial. I was very warm and inviting. And
you were trying to be you were trying to be subdued. You're trying to be a little suave. I think you're trying to go with the Dark Night DJ deal. You're trying to be Mr. Sunday Night Softly.
Yeah, that's where it all began, Sunday Night Softly.
And
the Dark DJ.
I think you didn't realize that it was okay to be upbeat. It was okay to be you. It was okay to be...
I figured it out.
Yeah, you figured it out. You got there. You got your personality, which is okay. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, thank you, because you've been a great help, Tim, in getting me there and breaking me out of that shell.
Yeah.
And helping to inflate this massive ego.
Yay, me!
The letter continues. So, I work as a 911 operator and an emergency dispatcher. A while back, I took a 911 call for a 16-year-old male who had a coughing fit and then passed out. At the time I received the call, the boy was awake and breathing normally. The caller was the grandmother, and she sounded very scared and nervous. I didn't think anything of it. This is 911 after all, and proceeded with my medical dispatch protocol until the boy started talking. He told his grandmother that he had seen somebody in his room prior to him having his fit. I immediately went into police mode, got an officer en route, and asked the caller if she thought someone had broken in. She hesitated. Well, she began, his younger brother doesn't like to go in there because of the clown man. I froze. Now, I deal with a lot of crazy people in my line of work. I mean, a lot. But I didn't get that vibe from her. In a situation like this, we stay on the phone with the caller until the ambulance arrives, in case we have to start CPR or give other instructions. So I spoke to this woman for 10 more minutes. During that time, she began to open up a little. The youngest child was 5, and he claimed to see the clown man through the house, but mostly in his brother's room. The 16-year-old had apparently taken a nap, and when he woke up, he saw a man standing in his room, then began coughing and couldn't remember anything until he woke up. As the ambulance pulled up, she finally admitted, I know we sound crazy, but we've all been seeing things since we moved in. I got chills. But unfortunately, the paramedics had arrived and the phone was ringing again, so I had to hang up. I love the show. Keep up the good work. And I have to stay anonymous since it was a 911 call. All right. Thank you, Bob.
What
Bill,
the?
Ted, Larry.
Jeez.
I'm not good at this. Sorry. But thank you for sharing. What a crazy story. So I've listened to many shows regarding flat Earth. Oh, this is a question that'll be coming up for a flat Earth guest. I'll get to that later.
Okay.
Hi, Dave. You played a clip of strange sound a few weeks back that sounded like a woman screaming. It sounds just like an Aztec death whistle to me. I now wonder if my neighbors think something paranormal is going on. On the rare occasions that I take mine outside to blow it, you may be able to find examples of how it sounds on YouTube. Have a good holiday. That comes from Sharon. I'm compelled to look this up, Tim.
I know when I'm alone and I'm blowing my Aztec death whistle,
Good God. There is something wrong with you. Let me see. Aztec death whistle sound.
You're welcoming something into your home. That probably
let's see. Let's see what it tells us. Oh, that's I don't want the commercial, Tim.
Hey, yeah.
New full examination and X-rays, no obligation.
Probably an ad for Marshalls or something.
Here she is.
If you're looking for something truly creepy, chilling, bone rattling, something alternative, if you're a festival goer, EDC, Wasteland Weekend, Burning Man, Renaissance Fair, which I will be going to tomorrow. I have something really special for you guys today.
Oh boy.
These are death whistles, and they are haunting. They're super creepy, super loud, and we have a couple of different ones just to try out for you today.
Okay. Holy God.
As you can see, super high pitch. It changes if you cup your hands.
That's a lot more shrill than what was on that video, though.
Oh, hold on. That's another one. Good God. So how many people have we just set off their dogs freaking out about that right now?
Probably a lot.
Ooh. Huh.
Yeah.
That's horrible. I'm going to get one. I want to get one.
You just, anytime you want to just freak out the kids, just because you want your kids on edge and just jittery all the time, more so than caffeine.
Yeah. Oh my God. You know what? I'm going to get one for Darkness Radio fans. I'm going to get one and I'm going to set up a camera in the hallway.
Oh, do it.
Yeah. And I'm going to blow that and watch my kids freak out. Oh, should we do this? Is that horrible? Am I the worst dad ever?
Do it at 3:33 a.m.
Yes. Oh my God.
And then when they run into your room, be like, I didn't hear anything.
Sharon, thank you. Thank you. I found the perfect thing to terrorize my children. We're going to blow it. And then the kids and my wife and I will just pretend like we didn't hear anything.
Oh, do it.
Yeah.
Oh, that is like the best episode of Punk'd ever.
Yeah. Hello. First of all, love you both, so I will not address either of you first or second.
Oh, thank you.
However, that being said, I'm Team Tim for the A. Oh, sorry, the rest is blurry. But she does take a swing at you in the next line.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah, well, bring it on.
That being said, I am a Team Tim for the AI versus zombie Twinkie for the win scenario, but that's a big old but. What the bleepity McBleep is this shiznit? CDC, please explain this bull shark. That comes from Andy, and it's a zombie preparedness. It is from the CDC. We talked about this years ago.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
That they just found a fun way to,
it was,
prepare you for a crisis, but they gave it to you as though it was a zombie apocalypse, or at least you guys can tell yourself that. Here's a quick story, Tim.
Okay.
It was a Christmas morning, and as the kids were tearing through their gifts, I sipped my coffee and looked out the sliding glass door at the rare, freshly fallen snow. I spied something that didn't belong. It was between the two barns, and I said out loud, "What is that?" It clearly stood out on the white wonderland. It was red, bright red. The kids ran to the window as I grabbed my boots and coat and venture out with my faithful Rottweiler, Axel. As I approach the red object, I think to myself, no way. On top of the snow, notice I said on top, not half covered, let alone buried, was a Santa hat. There were no footprints in the snow, no animal tracks around in case one could have carried it and dropped it off. Axel sniffed it and sniffed around as though confused. It was as if it had fallen from the sky. I picked up the hat to show the kids as their faces were pressed against the glass. My oldest, who thought she was too old for Santa, her jaw dropped. My youngest squealed. To this day, I have no idea, but it made for the best Christmas ever. Did we read that last week? Did I enjoy that so much I read it again?
I'm not sure.
I think the scream in that video with the cat sounds like a pet parrot, maybe a cockatoo. It does not sound supernatural at all to me. That's not true, Tim. Let's play that audio of the parrot sound and cockatoo so we can hear what it sounds like.
Okay.
Jafar, what are you doing? We've got to go after Aladdin. Yeah, that didn't sound anything like the audio that we had, Tim.
Yeah, I don't hear it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like that to me. If anything, it's an Aztec death whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is what my ass blows on October 31st every year. Just never knew it had a name to it, Tim.
Well, yeah.
The old Aztec death whistle.
They should play that at the Vikings games rather than the old skull horn.
Let's head to Tim. The Puyallup?
The what?
Puyallup.
Puyallup?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a haunting on Lane 1 at the Puyallup bowling alley. Yeah, you heard that right.
All right.
Daffodil Bowl in Puyallup has been around since the 1950s. Brad Swartz took over ownership nearly 3 years ago and has recently learned something rather curious about his bowling alley. The previous owners of 22 years never mentioned that the place is known to have a ghost, said Swartz. Swartz works alongside his daughter, Ashley, and said during the pandemic closure, they have been able to personally confirm the rumors of paranormal activity on their lanes. Both were quick to say it's not something they've seen, but what they've consistently heard. Ashley said that as often as every 15 minutes, they can hear the distinct sound of a bowling ball being thrown down the lane. For the first time in decades, the bowling alley is nearly silent, and that makes the sound of a lone bowler even more noticeable. After mentioning, I like how I'm reading this in the creepiest voice and my throat is going out on me during it, and it's a story about a haunted bowler, Tim. Giving it all she's got, Captain. After mentioning what they had been hearing to employees, it became clear that they were the last to know about their friendly ghost that refuses to leave Daffodil Bowl. Swartz said just about every employee has a story or two about strange noises and occasional sightings, like bowling shoes flying off the shelves or cooking utensils dropping from the walls in the kitchen. An employee named Corey said she's been working at the bowling alley for over 30 years and confirmed she's had some personal encounters. He comes up behind me and says my name. Sometimes he turns on the pin setters in the back as a way of letting me know that he's here and to have a good day or something, said Corey. The identity of this seemingly friendly ghost is a minor dispute. Many believe it's the spirit of a former loyal customer who died of a heart attack and died on Lane 1. That's where we usually hear the sound of the ball rolling. Lane 1, said Swartz. Daffodil mechanic Larry Davidson has been on the job for more than a decade and said he has seen and heard many things that he has accepted as paranormal. I've seen figures hunched over these machines. I've seen a dark figure walking to the back of the lanes when I'm the only one here at night and the doors are locked, said Davidson. Davidson said he believes the ghost is actually a former mechanic. A mechanic who has had his very job for a long time before passing. That mechanic lived in a house just across the parking lot until the home was torn down last summer. Whether it's a former mechanic or the loyal bowler who frequented the lanes, everyone seems to agree that it's not a scary haunting. They've even named the ghost Daffodil Dawn to honor its presence. Swartz said the bowling alley hasn't been closed for more than a day in decades, so it's possible the ghost has always been there, but it's never been calm enough to notice. I just think he doesn't want to stop bowling, laughed Swartz. How sad is that, Tim? Is that where you want to spend eternity? At the bowling alley?
No.
No, me neither.
No.
Very weird.
I mean, after the first 3 games, I'd be kind of bored.
I see that hand, though, and I'm going to up you another hand, Tim.
Okay.
Because this might be even worse than being stuck as a lone ghost bowler. An Australian man has shared a photograph of his grandfather's empty home showing a ghostly figure standing alone, doing the dishes. Yeah, Tim. Ghosts doing dishes.
That's just torture.
Yeah. Upon first glance, the picture just seems to show an ordinary brown brick property with a yellow sold sign on the front garden. But upon closer inspection, a slim, ghostly figure can be seen at the open kitchen window appearing to be washing dishes. When my pop passed away, we had to sell his house in Port Victoria. The real estate agent took these photographs and sent them to my mom straight away, Tyler said. There was nobody else at the property at this time. The Ray White realtor was sending a picture of the home to celebrate finding buyers and showing the sold sign. Thornton explained how he immediately noticed the figure in the window. She sent me the photos while I was on the phone to her, and I said, "Who's in the window?" She freaked out and hung up on me. The pictures of the ghostly figure in the home have equally thrilled, frightened, and stumped users who commented on the post. "I see your pop in the window doing the dishes. Looks like he's got his blue t-shirt on and holding a plate," one said. Some branded it amazing. However, a few short-sighted cynics couldn't decipher the ghost in the images, commenting, "Can't see anything, sorry." "Seriously, what are you looking at? I'm not seeing anything." "Nothing there that looks remotely ghostly, just a smudged window or a reflection." Users also speculated about the ghost's motives, with one saying, "I can see half his body in the first photo and see him fully in the second. Maybe he doesn't want anybody in the house and that's why he's showing it." Another added, "I think it's their pop in the window. Got a strong feeling it's him saying his last goodbye and saying he's watching over you." Others joked, "This really upsets me. Does this mean I'm going to still be doing dishes after I die?" That's the sound I would make if I had to do dishes after I died, Tim.
Yeah, not one of my favorite ones. No.
They say he was a bigger bloke, but his figure looks slim, so maybe it's a younger version of him, the grandson guessed. The post has over 800 reactions and nearly 400 comments. That's 785 more than we get for the show, Tim.
Yeah.
The new owners may have got more than they bargained for with a lovely new home and a live-in dishwasher. I'm going to post this over at the news, so a couple of these stories will probably pop up in the news, so you can go over to darknessradio.com, click on the news tab, and you'll find that story. Tim, our final story is here. Our final story of 2020. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Australia, Tim. The land down under, where women roam and men chunder. Something like that. Where you can eat Vegemite sandwiches, and I don't know why, Tim.
I don't either. It's like putting a salt block in your mouth.
Yeah. Australia, where everything there wants to kill you, Tim. And you thought the only place that was safe was the ocean, Tim, where you could swim in the beautiful, pristine waters. Except for the fact that there's bloody mourning mothers, apparitions of swimmers mauled by sharks, and floating body parts. The most haunted beaches around Australia have finally been revealed, Tim. New South Wales, South Australia, and Western Australia were found to have the most haunted beaches, with scary apparitions appearing on the state shorelines for over 50 years. From the sites of bloodied mourning mothers, swimmers mauled by sharks, and dismembered bodies. I guess you can't be a disembodied body.
Right. Yeah.
Dismembered body floating on roads. These beaches continue to scare locals and visitors. We'll start this trek, Tim, if you will, at Jenny Dixon Beach. Where, Tim? Dixon Beach. Located on the... What does NSW stand for again, Tim? You know that better than I. No, New South Wales. Yeah, that's it. Located on the New South Wales Central Coast, Jenny Dixon Beach is notorious for being filled with paranormal activity. According to legends, the beach is haunted by 2 female ghosts. The first ghost is the spirit of a woman infamous for being a phantom hitchhiker to unsuspecting drivers along Wilford Barrett Drive. Over the past 40 years, there have been hundreds of accounts of drivers picking up a young woman who is hitchhiking along the road, only for her to disappear once she sits in the back seat of the vehicle. The legend of the ghost origins go back to the 1970s when a young woman was walking along the road back to Noraville. She fetched a ride from 5 men who allegedly drove her down to the local beach and then began assaulting her. Reports of a woman standing at the side of the road have been sent to local authorities, with even police officers claiming to have witnessed the ghost. The second apparition said to haunt the coastline is said to be that of a woman who was killed alongside her son in a shipwreck around Nora Head in 1800s. She appears to beachgoers with her arms outstretched as if pleading for help, dressed in clothing appropriate for the period. The Nora Head coastline was known for multiple shipwrecks during the 1800s, as allegedly ships were unfamiliar with the geography and fell victim to the strong winds and sea. According to Adelaide legends, locals and visitors to Brighton Beach. They've witnessed a young woman diving off the Brighton jetty, but never returning. The apparition of the woman is believed to be the local woman Kitty White, who was the first person in southern Australia to be killed by a shark in that area. Ms. White was known in the community as not only an accomplished swimmer, but as a swim teacher to young children, and was awarded the Grand Diploma of the Royal Life-Saving Society for saving a drowning woman. Reportedly, on the day of her death, Ms. White had concluded a swimming lesson with local children when she went back into the water for a swim. But the swimmer never returned as she was mauled by a shark, later dying from her injuries at Brighton Beach in 1926. Author of Haunted Adelaide and paranormal expert Alan Tiller told Adelaide Now that Kitty White has been haunting Brighton Beach for years. Now let's crack open a Rougarou, which is Australian for beer. One story came from a couple of young guys who saw a blonde lady run towards them on the beach, wearing clothes that didn't match the era, Tim. Clothes that didn't match the era, Tim!
Where's that Aztec death whistle?
The description they and others give fits the description of Kitty. Mr. Tiller says that Mrs. White is different as she is a residual ghost left behind where there is a highly dramatic death. A residual ghost is like a video recording on a loop, said Mr. Tiller. Then there's Bunker Bay, Tim. Local folklore claim that two ghosts haunt the two cottages near the Cape, west of Bunker Bay. The first ghost, Harry Ballmeyer, that's an unfortunate name, claims to reside on the ground of the lighthouse keeper's cottage. In 1907, the young Scotsman became shipwrecked and sought shelter in the nearby cottage, where he later died from dehydration and injuries. The ghost of Harry Ballmeyer has been spotted roaming the grounds of the cottage or holding a lantern in the car park. Is that what they're calling it in Australia?
No, I guess so. I wonder if Harry Ballmeyer ever did get a good shave.
Oh. Well, he's out there holding his lantern in the car park, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
The second ghost is known as Mary, who reportedly strangled the neck of a maintenance worker who was residing in the cottage. He fled to a nearby town of Dunsborough with red strangulation marks around his neck. The two ghosts are well known by locals as Happy Harry and Bloody Mary.
I don't know what's so funny about that, but it's better than Bonnie and Clyde, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The iconic Manly Beach is in close proximity to the notoriously haunted Q Station. I've been there. That ran from the 1830s to 1984 as a facility to treat immigrants who were diagnosed with the bubonic plague, the Spanish flu, and smallpox. Now revamped as a restaurant and resort, it's estimated that over 13,000 people were quarantined at the site, with more than 500 people dying from the disease. Previously known as the North Head Quarantine Station, locals say the souls of victims are trapped, haunting the site from their miserable final days and hours before death. Around 20 children are said to roam the premises. Famously, a young boy named Isaac Lowes, who died in 1878 from scarlet fever, and a little girl named Mary Ann, who is known to hold guests' hands during tours around the facility. But one of the most haunted sites at the Q Station is a renovated first-class shower block where patients would have carbolic acid showers in an attempt to kill any germs and lice. Visitors claim to have heard voices saying, "Where are you?" or being pushed despite no one standing near them. So how about that, Tim? Some haunted beaches in Australia.
Creepy.
I know where I'm sending you for your holiday.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Merry Christmas. Well, that's it for the news and Parashare aspect of the show, Tim. But 15 years, brother, wouldn't have happened without your call. So again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart in changing the trajectory of my life and inviting me to do a little show with you on Sunday nights back in, I think it was November or October of 2005.
November, if I remember right. November 7th.
Was it? November 7th. I remember it well. 7th. You were in that cocktail dress, and I was dressed in my navy blues.
I still have that little cocktail dress.
Uh-huh.
I still have to shave when I wear it.
Hey, Dave, So I've got this shitty gold show, shitty real estate show, and shitty investment show, and I have 1 hour to fill. What kind of shitty radio show do you want to do? That was the call that changed my life. And here we are 15 years later, still doing our shitty little paranormal show. But thank you all for being a part of it with us. And Tim, thank you for bringing me back into the world that I love so much with radio.
Absolutely.
Yep. It's been amazing.
It's been fun.
I'm sorry, did you just hear my soul?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
My soul screaming out. Oh my God, buddy. Well, that's it. I guess, unless there's any last moment things you want to share with our listeners, bud.
Just that, at the beginning when we came up with the concept, I said to myself, you always have this feeling, it's an intuitive feeling, it's an instinctual feeling that whether something is going to be successful or if something is going to happen, if it's going to take off, if it's going to really have legs or have wings. And I've only had it a few times in my life, and this show was one of them. The other was with a team that's right now on AEW Top Flight, and a couple of brothers that are on Top Flight, Darius and Dante. They're on AEW right now, and their careers are taking off. And I have a feeling about my nephew who plays guitar, Austin. Those are the only 3 times I think in life that I've really felt good and had this instinct about something that's really taking off in life or going to take off in life. So,
well, from your lips to God's ears, let's hope it actually takes off at some point here.
I think some really good things have, and some really great things have happened with this program, and some really great things have branched off this program. And it's been a really cool source of some really cool things over this 15 years. You look at the different people that have come through this program, as far as guests and the different, you can look at the different trends in paranormal that have come through this program in 15 years. And it's kind of breathtaking, the different guests that have been through here. It's a who's who of the paranormal. And that's kind of cool. You sit back and you look at it and you go, wow, and I kind of pinch myself from time to time as to the things that have happened to the two of us over 15 years. And it's really been a true gift from God. And you have to sit down sometimes and just thank the universe. And I thank you too, for the last 15 years. It's really been a true gift. And I can only put that gratitude out to the listeners, who continue to support us. And and true friends, those true friends that keep putting their time and energy into us, day after day, when they sit down and download the show and put that energy back into us. The people who put the energy into the prayer requests, who give their energy and time to people who are in desperate need of it, who need it. And I think the idea is that if we keep putting that time and energy into each other, it'll come back to all of us eventually. And I'm just grateful, and there's an attitude of gratitude on my part, and I really do appreciate you, and I appreciate everyone who's been in my life, and I just want to thank everyone.
Very cool. Well, thank you all again, and here's to the next 15. I would like to round this out and maybe step away at the end of another 15 years and turn the keys over to the kids, but
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see where the world takes us, but I'm down for it if you are. You got 15 more in you?
Heck yeah.
All right, let's do this then. We'll see you on the 30th anniversary. Make sure you keep up with the show. Share it with your friends, relatives, neighbors, people you don't like, maybe them the most. And just remember, if at any point you are dissatisfied, give Tim a call at 612.
Dave,
what?
There's email. And they can call the other number, and they can leave it there. Hey, we'll play it on the air if they're dissatisfied. That would be fun.
Right. All right, buddy. I will talk to you again. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year, and may it be a safe beginning to a brand new part of our lives that we can all enjoy together. From Tim Dennis, I'm Dave Schrader. Thank you for the last 15 years of Darkness Radio.